co-founder and CEO at RevShoppe, and thank you so much for being here. Let's give it up for SaaStock for putting on such an awesome event this week. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. And do we have any founders? Founders. Amazing. Yes. Thank you for answering the call. Thank you for saying yes. This is the best representation of the founder's journey. This is freaking awesome. Wait a minute. This is super tricky, actually. This is a little bit tough. Actually, this is shit. I'm shit, right? Ugh, what am I even thinking? What am I even doing? I can't do this. Wait, actually, this might actually be okay. Oh, this is freaking awesome, right? The peaks, the valleys. Does anybody relate to this? Yeah, the peaks and valleys. Thank you. Thank you for answering the call. It's a difficult journey to be on. Do we have any founders that have reached $1 million in revenue? Awesome. Do you know the percentage of SaaS companies that can reach $1 million in revenue? 4%. 4% of SaaS companies make it to $1 million in revenue. Any 5 million? Amazing. 10 million? Do you know the percentage of SaaS companies that make it to 10? Guesses. 0.4. 0.4. So again, thank you for answering the call. The peaks and the valleys, for persevering. It takes a lot to get to $1 million in revenue. It takes a lot to get to 5, and it takes a lot to get to 10. And we have to redesign and reinvent ourselves as founders to reach these different stages of our business. We have to reinvent our people, our processes, our systems, and our technology. Technology is a huge investment to make in order to scale and get to the next level. So I want to share a little bit about technology today and how to scale. And I want to share a little bit about my journey as a founder and how I'm here today talking about technology. So my founder's journey actually started over 10 years ago, and I didn't know it at the time, but I was working at a data company and building the sales program there. And we had a shiny new tool that we got to use to build the sales program out. You may have heard of it. It's called Outreach, outreach.io. Is anybody using Outreach or something similar? SalesLoft, Groove, HubSpot Sales. Awesome. Okay, we're in good company. So I was an alpha user at the time, getting to provide product feedback directly to the founding team at Outreach. And fast forward to today, now I get to advise companies on the strategies to use within that technology and how to maximize that technology and that investment. And it's been really exciting to watch the growth of the category in general, watch sales engagement on the rise. And it reminds me of the wave and the rise that we saw with CRM. All right, we think back to what Salesforce really created. They were the market leader. They're now a $31 billion company. And we saw this ecosystem be created around CRM, right? We saw a lot of new technology, a lot of new roles emerge. Now it's common to have a Salesforce admin on your team, right? And we're seeing the same wave, we're seeing the same rise with sales engagement. We're seeing Outreach as the market leader, now valued at $4 billion, and we are seeing all of these new roles, all this new technology being built around the platform, and we're also seeing new roles, again, content strategists or admins to really maintain the hygiene of that platform. So really exciting to see this new rise and to ride the wave. And now we're also seeing this rise with AI, right? How many people are either integrating AI into your own business or talking about it or implementing into your strategy? Yeah, so that's the next wave, right? And we're going to start to see new roles emerge and new ecosystems, and a lot of SaaS companies integrating it into their roadmaps as well. So I think it's safe to say, we all agree, that technology is essential to our revenue growth. It's absolutely essential. But you also may have experienced this yourself. When you get new technology, It's a little bit ironic in that we invest in this technology to become efficient and to scale and to improve performance, but yet it creates a little bit of digital disconnect. Disconnected systems. Maybe it doesn't really integrate with the rest of our sales tools, right? The data actually doesn't flow between systems as we've envisioned it to. It's difficult for our reps to actually access the data they need. Disconnected people. Sometimes we have different departments, sales, marketing, operations, within the same platforms, but they're not talking to each other. We're actually creating more silos when we bring on technology to scale. And that ultimately creates disconnected buyers, right? Our buyers suffer from that experience. We experience that, we bring on a new tool, we're really excited about the potential and what this tool is going to bring to our organization, and then falls flat. Nobody's using it. Doesn't get adopted. So every company that I've worked with over my career and personally have experienced, every company has experienced that firsthand in some shape or form. And what we found over the years, advising for a lot of these companies, is that they can have the best strategy in the world, the best sales strategy in the world, but if the technology isn't set up to support it and they don't have the right people in place to actually execute, that strategy doesn't stand a chance. That strategy is not effective. Your strategy is only as good as the foundation that it's built on. Your strategy is only as good as the foundation that it's built on. So, what do? We're going to talk a little bit about how we align our technology to our strategy to maximize that technology and make sure that we can scale and see the results that we're after. But I want to share a couple stories first on some companies that have really adopted the approach that we're going to talk about today. Patient Pop, early customer of ours. Some of you may know Kevin Dorsey. He was on this stage yesterday. We worked with Kevin Dorsey on this approach and really aligned his technology with his strategy, and we generated 17 million in pipeline together. DocuSign, primarily an inbound team. They scaled an outbound program as well, and they increased pipeline by 25% when applying this process that we're going to cover. And Cisco, lastly, they were also an inbound team, built an outbound engine, aligned technology to their strategy using this three-pronged approach we're going to cover, and they increased pipeline by 8x. And also their engagement, their messaging, their open rates, click rates, their meeting conversion rates were skyrocketing as well. An increase in 37% in reply rates, which is impressive, especially now, this year, we're seeing 40% decline in our reply rates. Email channels, super saturated. So how can we stand out? How can we be different? We're going to talk about how Patient Pop, DocuSign, Cisco, and how you can apply that as well. So how do we align technology and strategy together? If you take anything away from this today, I want you to remember these three parts of the strategy: operations, messaging, and enablement. So operations is your foundation. A lot of people skip over operations. I have a sales background, probably a lot of sales folks here today. You want to build the strategy and you want to get going as fast as possible. But we tend to cut corners a little bit and we don't think about the operations. We don't think about the reporting. We don't set the right foundation there in terms of data and systems. So operations is your foundation. Messaging, that's the engagement strategy. So how are we contacting our buyers on what channels and with what message? And lastly, enablement. How do we make sure that we equip our reps to execute the strategy that we put in place? All right, how many times have we implemented a new program, launched a new sales strategy, and the sales team doesn't use it? They act like they've never seen it before, right? But maybe we sent them an email last week, so they got it, right? So operations, messaging, and enablement. Let's drill into each one. And I want you to take away one thing today from each pillar that you can implement for your strategy. So operations, the foundation. It's just like building a house, okay? If you have a crack in the foundation of your house, what happens if you don't fix that? Yeah, it grows. It continues to grow, right? The problem will only get bigger. Can't slap paint over that crack in the foundation. We have to fix that. So that's your data. That's your systems. That's your reporting. So if you take one thing away today, reporting is the most important part of operations and what we see teams struggle with the most, honestly. We really want to make sure that we know where success is coming from. If we can't measure it, we can't scale it. So what does success look like for your sales strategy? What are you actually measuring? What does good look like? Are you looking at open rates? Are you looking at conversion? Are you looking at pipeline? What is success? Once you've defined those metrics, what's your baseline? If you get a 10% conversion, is that good? Do we know if that's good or not? We don't have a starting point. So make sure to define your actual metrics and then find the baseline. Look at your historical data, take an average. It's the easiest way to get there as a starting point. Your data is always telling you a story. So look at the data and try to understand what it's telling you. What is the data telling you? What is actually working and what's not working? And how can you use that data to inform your strategy? Reporting. Number one for operations. All right, for messaging, we fixed the foundation, right? We fixed operations, fixed the foundation crack, and now we can furnish the house. That's messaging, right? So that's where we can get a little bit playful and fun and test some of the different channels and some of the different messaging and some of the different offers that we are providing for our buyers. And if you're going to take away something from messaging, this pillar, you want to make sure that it's backed by data again. You want to make sure that you're really thinking about your segmentation. A lot of teams struggle with this too. Do I go persona-based? Do I go industry-based? Do I go by product, different product lines? How do we segment our messaging? You want to think about where that messaging varies the most. Right? The way that you talk to a CTO is very different than the way that you would talk to a salesperson. So persona is a big, a common option for segmentation. Also, make sure to allow the data to inform that as well, right? What is the best industry to target? What is the best persona to target based on where is that converting the most? Once you have your segmentation, you want to make sure that you're really thinking about the research and the data points that are available within that segment, right? So if I'm going after persona-based messaging, what information am I going to grab from my CRM? What data can I grab and include in my strategy? Or what research am I going to do maybe on LinkedIn or some of the other channels that I can really create the most relevant and personalized message for my buyer? We cannot just put instructions out there for our reps and say, go do some research and personalize. All right? We're leaving it up to chance. It's really unclear. And when it's unclear, they don't do it. Right? So how can we be more prescriptive about the research, and how does that research define the strategy? Right? To give you an example, if you are an HR solution, maybe your strategy is to look at how many open job positions are out there, right? How many different, if they're making a lot of hiring decisions or a lot of their hiring trends are increasing, that would be a really good relevant data point, a good research data point to build a strategy around, to build messaging around. So you want to give that prescriptive context to your reps. Right, now that we have our segmentation, we have our data, we're ready to write our messaging. And how do we write our messaging like a pro? We can use the pro framework, actually. The P is for pain or personalization. So we want to personalize. That's our first chance to grab our readers' attention, right? We've got 17 words in the preview of someone's inbox, 17 words. So what are you going to say in that first line to be as relevant and as timely as possible? You just looked at the research and the personalization, put it in the first line, grab their attention. The R, the reason. Why are you reaching out? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to think about? Why should they care about this right now? And then the O, offer. We have to reframe CTA, call to action. We have to reframe this. We can no longer ask for an hour of somebody's time out of the gate. We haven't established trust. There's no value in it for them, right? So how do we present an offer? How do we creatively give them something that they would say yes to? If I am hosting a party, I'm going to send an offer to you. Hey, I'm having a party. You should come. That's an offer, right? It's an invite, an offer. I'm not saying, hey, do you have an hour to come to my party? It's more of an offer. It's more of a decision on your part to join. So how can we be creative in our offer? What can we offer our clients, right? Hey, I have 3 things I want to share with you about your website that can help you drive more traffic. So email copywriting like a pro. All right, the last pillar, enablement. So we've fixed the foundation of the house. We furnished the house. And now we have to keep the house clean. Right? That's enablement. That's training. That's practicing with our reps. How many of you have done a training with your team and just goes out the window? Probably more than that, right? Probably all of us at some point. Why does that happen? Because we don't retain more than 15% of anything within a week. That's a scary number, 15%. So we can't rely on a just-in-time training. We can't rely on sending an email or sending a deck or a resource out to our sellers and expect proper execution. We have to think about the post-launch plan. We have to practice. We're giving a new strategy. We're creating new behavior. We have to make sure that the strategy is executed properly. Again, you can have the best strategy in the world, but if it's not executed properly, it doesn't stand a chance. So we want to think about enablement and training the same way that we think about prospecting, right? Sequence, cadence. Do you guys have sequences and cadences in your sales engagement platform? So we have sequences and cadences. We have a lot of different touch points, a lot of different formats, ways that we're engaging with our buyers across channels, and we want to think about enablement in the same way. The way that we train, right? We learn differently, different channels, different modalities. And so we want to think about enablement cadence. Anytime you're launching a sales program, you want to build one of these as well. And you'll notice that it doesn't just have a live training session. The last 3 steps are focused on reinforcement, on practice exercises beyond the training itself. So make sure to set yourselves up for success, set your sales team, set your managers up for success with an enablement cadence as well. All right, so we fixed the foundation, operations, right? We really want to make sure that we are understanding what's working and what's not working for our teams. I guarantee if you do a performance audit today of all the systems that are in your tech stack, and you look at what's working and not, 80% of the success that you're having is probably generated from 20% of your behaviors, right? So find that 20% and double down on it. That should inform your sales strategy. We really want to make sure that the systems are set up to support that strategy too. So if you need to make any adjustments to how it's configured, right, how it's set up, maybe different naming conventions to be able to report on it long term, make sure that the systems are set up to support that strategy. Number 2, we talked about the 3 pillars. So if you take anything away, again, I know the retention is only 15% for next week. So if you guys think about this next week, the 3 areas of your strategy: operations, messaging, and enablement. You can't have one without the other. We've tried. Actually, quick story on RevShoppe. Our first offering ever, all we did was write sales messaging. That's it. We wrote sequences and cadences for sales engagement clients. And we would develop the best-in-class strategy, trying new things that no one's been doing before, really make sure that we're targeted and we're personalized. And we would hand this to our clients, and what would happen? Can you guess? Can you guess what happened? No one used it. No one was using it. We didn't actually see the performance that we were looking for because we didn't influence the other aspects of this approach. We weren't setting up the system. We weren't there to make sure the data flowed properly, and we weren't in touch with the team, right? They were doing the training. They launched it. And so you cannot have one without the other if you're launching a sales strategy. Make sure you're pulling in the right people as well, which is number 3. You want to pull in the right committee. You want to pull in the right people across operations, So sales operations, you want to pull marketing and sales together for the second pillar. And this also includes sales managers or maybe your champions, right? You want to actually incorporate some of the maybe top performers and involve them in building the sales messaging and the strategy. And then lastly, enablement. If you have an enablement team or enablement function, make sure they're involved in the process and planning, and include managers and champions in that as well, all right? Make it really real for them in the technology that they have, all right? What's the actual click path, all right? How are they going to move from A to B to C and actually execute on the strategy within the technology that they have available to them? If they're part of designing that, there's a higher chance of them actually executing that and bringing it to their team as well. So involve them in the process. So ownership, operations, sales, marketing, and enablement, getting together often, regularly. You know, a lot of our clients are meeting on a bi-weekly basis to have conversations and to build the strategy holistically. And then each of those departments can make changes or contribute to that strategy to make sure that all those pillars are accounted for. So I'm super excited about the advancements and what we're seeing, the innovation with technology and how technology is really helping sales teams scale. The best way to achieve that scale is to focus holistically on that strategy across operations, messaging, and enablement. And I'm really confident that the founders in the room here today, if you apply this strategy, you will be a part of that 0.4% that'll reach 10 million in revenue. Thank you all so much.